Today, on Be Something Wonderful, specific person manifesting breakthrough. It can't be that easy. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Big video this morning. This is with a client that in her words was having troubles manifesting a relationship with her SP, her desired relationship. And like a lot of us, this was one area where she thought, she goes, Tom, I've got money, plenty of money. My career is great. My health is great. I play water sports. I snow ski. I'm a runner. Everything's great, but this seems to trip me up, manifesting things in this area. And so, guys, this video is going to apply to any area, because it could be things where you manifest relationships, but money's a problem, or you manifest money and it doesn't seem like your health you seem to struggle with that. So it can apply to anything. But I want to bring this up because there's been a lot that have been talking about relationships lately, and that seems to be their stumbling block, or they seem to have trouble, or they seem to be stuck. But now, she's got an amazing story. She says, it's as easy as creating a button. I did that video, and it's easy as creating a cookie as a castle. And so she was having fun playing on the words of Abraham Hicks. That it was really, she got it. That it was her assumption, of course, that it was more difficult. But even deeper than that she was just assuming. She had a mental image of him, never really treating her as a priority or treating her the way she wanted to be, right? And then there was an assumption behind an assumption that SP and relationships are a stumbling block, that they're harder, right? That everything else I want manifests, and I can create money, I can create promotions with my job, I can create new things to do with my great health, but everything else she felt she struggled with. So she says this, like another client you mentioned, I think it was in a previous video, I was remembering him wrong. When I moved to the assumption, in other words, the identity, right, that I've always been a priority, that he's really into me, I started seeing how he actually was always there. Hear this. This is pretty remarkable what she said. So hear this. I started seeing how he was actually always there. I'm not even sure if that's how it always was or I revised it. And she started laughing. She goes, I get it. It's the same thing. So she's saying, I'm not sure if it was always like that. But that's the point. You created every moment. Do you see? The past is new in every moment of now. You're creating a new past and a new future. So she created a new past. It can be no other way. So it's the same thing. It's always been like that, because with this new identity, it's always been like that. In the other identity, it was a different past. She really got that. This is so big, right? This is so big. So, and again, she had that assumption behind the assumption. And we're going to unpack this a little deeper today on really what her movement was. So let's get into this. In the SP and relationship area, she couldn't see past her assumptions. But more than that, she couldn't see her assumptions. Now, this is big, right? Remember, she didn't think they were assumptions. She thought that was reality. That he doesn't treat me as a priority. He's selfish. That's who he is. That's the reality. Do you see it? She couldn't even see those assumptions. In other words, she believed it so much that he's just like that. That's who he is. That she believed her assumptions about him were reality, that they were the truth. They were just assumptions. No one's just like that or the way they are. They're the way that you are or your assumptions are. That's what everybody is you pushed out means. Your assumptions are pushed out. Doesn't mean you're like that. It means you have those assumptions about him. You could be like that, but it also means you have the assumptions about him. And remember, she thought they were truth or reality. And not simply assumptions, not simply thoughts, not simply beliefs about reality. So the version of him, reflected from the version of her identity, was hot and cold, on and off. Nice guy, not such a nice guy. I'm sure he's just a nice guy. We all are, right? Come on, it's those assumptions. But anyway, that's what was reflected. Do you get it, guys? This is powerful today. The assumption, remember what Neville says. The assumption is the crown of the mysteries because it is the highest use of consciousness. Wow, love it. It's the highest use of consciousness. So assumptions create your reality. They do become your reality. But you are the reality. You are the conviction. You are the I am behind everything. I am is just I am. Totally unconditioned. Totally whole and complete until you assume something about it. Right? So high. These assumptions, or the assumption, the crown of mysteries, can become so high that we can believe it is reality versus just an idea about reality. We believe it so much that it becomes reality. That's what she was doing. Your assumptions and beliefs condition consciousness, or in other words, your experience of reality, by filtering out all realities, all people, events, and conditions that don't align with your assumptions and beliefs. They filter out everything that doesn't support it, that doesn't bear witness to your assumptions. Everything else bears witness to your assumptions. It filters out entire worlds. She couldn't see that world where that other version of him. Right? Remember, it's not, in this question about free will comes up, it's not manipulating or affecting his free will. That would assume there's only one possibility. There's only one reality. There's only one version of her, only one version of him. You're an infinite being, and there are infinite versions of you, infinite realities, and infinite versions of him. So it's just lining up, corresponding with the frequency, the vibration, the identity of your identity with that identity that is reflected out in reality in the version of him. Do you see it? So in the case of her SP, the version of him that was supportive, loving, in a committed relationship with her, that identity of her defined by her assumption or self-concept. That's the identity that she moved into. The version that he was supportive, loving, and committed, her being that identity that's in that type of relation. Someone that knows that she's supported, period. Him by her higher self, knows she's loved by her higher self, knows she's in a committed relationship with that higher self. And so all other relationships will reflect that. That identity of her defined by her assumption or her self-concept. Very powerful. So remember, here she was, right? Looking out there for evidence of change, right? So she was imagining the ideal relationship with him, that ideal relationship. But she couldn't see past her assumptions. She kept looking out there to see where he hasn't changed. Do you see it? She was almost looking for evidence that he hasn't changed. Even though she will say, I'm looking for that reality where he has, but it doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to see evidence that he hasn't, because you're looking out through those old assumptions, that it's possible, that it's even possible that he hasn't changed. Do you see it? If you're in the new identity, it's not possible, because there's a new identity of you and a new identity of him. You're not trying to change the old identity. You're not trying to change the old script. You're not trying to change the old reality. So looking for evidence of change in that old reality makes no sense. It keeps you tied to that same script, right? And in the past, there it is, still hasn't changed. That's what you're carrying forward, while assuming that he hasn't changed or you haven't changed. It's the old reality, the old script. Even as you imagine him differently, even as you imagine yourself differently, you're still in that old script or that old reality. You're still looking out through those old assumptions. And you keep moving. Remember, you're always moving realities. You're always moving lifelines and frames and scripts. But the reality looks very similar to the one you were on a moment before, and a moment before, and a moment before. Do you see it? There's that potential of you in him. But there you are in this reality, looking for where there might be change, dragging forward what you believe has always been that way. But once you move in the vertical, once you move into that new identity and start looking out at reality from that new identity, instead of looking for change, know that it is change, know that it is new. Make that your predominant assumption and only look through the eyes of that new identity. That future now becomes now. Do you see it? You pull that future self, future you, future him. Remember, he's a reflection of whatever you're being. Comes into the now moment. Do you see it? And then the past changes. Do you see how she changed the past? He was always that way. She was always that identity. You become that identity, that version of you. You change to that version of you in the now moment. You change all time. That's pretty clear here. Do you see? She changed the past. In the vertical now, in the vertical of the now moment, she changed the past, present, and future from the present moment by assuming he has always been as she desired to be, and that she's always been that identity that sees him in that light, sees him how she wants it. There's no possibility of looking out and not seeing that, because you're that new identity. You're seeing through those eyes. Assuming that he's always been desired to, both past and present conditions, right, are bearing witness to those new assumptions. She's now looking out through that new identity and now seeing that the past actually has changed, that matches that new identity of her. And that version of him matches or resonates or vibrates or corresponds to that identity that she's being now. Do you see it, that version of him? He's infinite too. She's infinite too, but she sees that. Remember, she creates infinite worlds. And there'll be a version of him that matches that version of her. Very powerful today. So remember, I just want to make this point. This is a big distinction. It's much bigger than just seeing her SP differently. Right? We're saying it's much bigger than that. In other words, choosing to see him in reality differently. For sure she is. But it's bigger than that. Because she can choose to see him differently. She can choose to be a different reality, but she can still be looking out from that old script or that old reality. Do you see it? Still out there, still creating separation from who she wants to be and who she believes she is now or assumes she is now. Who she wants him to be and who she believes and assumes he is right now. Do you see it? She moved to the identity that can only see him in reality as she desires it to be. Do you see it? It's much bigger than merely just seeing it differently. She moved to the identity. She changed and therefore reality changed. You are reality. You, that are reality, which means that version of you that the version of your SP is reflected from that version of you or your version of reality. This is what Ernest Holmes says, and he really hits it right here, nails it. When we choose between different things. Just as she was, right? She was still considering that there was a difference. There was him acting this way and there was him that he could act this way. We're choosing between two different things. We're still going out there and believing there are separate things to choose from, right? But, he says here, but when spirit or source chooses, it simply announces that it is a certain thing. When it chooses, it becomes it. It announces it as reality. That's the difference. She announced it and became that identity. Not merely choosing to see him differently, but becoming the identity that only sees him differently. And so then she must see a version of him that's different. Not only in the present, but also in the past. That's what shocked her. She wasn't sure what was what, but it didn't matter, right? So she announced with her assumptions that she is and always was the ideal version of her, and who only sees the ideal version of him. This changed all time. She moved to an identity and a reality of that new version of her, which came with a new past. Remember, the past, as we said in the previous video, is created in the present moment. Very powerful here. Remember, it doesn't just apply to SPs. It applies to whether you identify with the reality that you're abundant, that money's always flowing to you, or if it's a health issue, a physical issue, a weight issue, that you've always been that identity, that had that ideal weight, has that abundance. It's moving to that identity that shifts and changes the past. It doesn't matter what it is that you're choosing. She was no longer the identity remembering the past that she hasn't changed and waiting for evidence that he has changed. Hear this. She was no longer the identity remembering that he hasn't changed and waiting for evidence that he'd changed. That's what she was doing, waiting for the 3D to catch up, as many of you say. The 3D is not catching up. You are 3D reality. It's you. 3D doesn't have to catch up with you. 3D is not outside of you. That still implies that it's outside of you. You're still waiting for some reality to catch up with you. You're still, remember in the video earlier, I posted it on the membership channel. So if you're not a member, you probably haven't seen it, but very powerful video of this subscriber's comments. This was posted just a few hours ago. That she said, I realized that I'm not pulling from the quantum field. I am the quantum field. And I did a video on that. In other words, if you're waiting for 3D to catch up, then you're not saying, you're trying to pull from the quantum field. You're trying to manifest from the quantum field. You're trying to attract something to you, right? Waiting for evidence that he has changed. That means you're waiting for reality to change. You are reality. Don't wait. Be the change. Go to the absolute assumption that it has changed because you have. That's powerful, right? She assumed and announced that she is that new identity and reality now. She wasn't waiting, right? Like that comment on the membership video. That the name of that membership video is "You are not pulling from the quantum field. You are the quantum field," right? And then one of you said, because this subscriber was talking about she's manifesting things instantly. She thinks of it and it manifests. Of course, because you are the quantum field. It's not about anything catching up. It's there when you become one with that quantum field, with that God consciousness, and know there is no separation, that you're not waiting for everything, then you do start seeing reality in that instantaneous way. Then one of you asked, well, what enables those instant manifestations as opposed to waiting for it to catch up in 3D? That is what, do you see it? That's what enables it, not waiting for it. Do you see? You answered your own questions. What enables instant manifestations as opposed to waiting for it to catch up in 3D? That's what enables it, not waiting for it to catch up. Do you see it? Stop assuming there's something or something 3D conditions that needs to catch up. Something or some condition that needs to catch up. Stop waiting and be that new identity. I think the same person even asked, what did she manifest instantly? That was her first question. Again, it's applying that you're pulling from if that's important to you, then you've missed the whole message of the video. It's not about the stuff that she manifested instantly, trying to soothe your disbelief, right? She didn't even list them. But just to make you feel better, oh, it wasn't this, but it was this. The idea that it is instant. What she manifested is irrelevant to the power of that video. Watch the video and rest in that idea that it's about her not waiting for anything to catch up. That you are reality. That you go to that knowing now. That's what she did. Specific person manifesting breakthrough, it can't be that easy. That's what she said, and she knows it is. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos. Thank you for being part of our Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful, for joining us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kearin, and for being part of our membership channel. We just released a big video just a few hours ago. That's the quantum field video that was just posted. Getting a lot of great feedback. A lot of people are moved by that. There'll be more ideas on that, even on the public channel. And also we have a live stream on the membership channel this coming Sunday. At 9 a.m. in the morning, Pacific Coast Standard Time, you're going to be live with me here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we're going to go live, this live stream, and we're going to answer your questions that you're sending to info@besomethingwonderful.com. Keep your questions coming. Creators, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, this is Tom in the studios of Be Something Wonderful. We'll see you soon.